this business meeting committee to order. Roll call, please, ma'am.
Ms. Diane Petito
Here.
Ms. Evelyn Charpentier here. Mr. Marvin Rock here.
Thank you. All right, item A, to consider adoption of the 2023-2024 salary schedules.
Yes, our recommendation would be adoption of the 23-24 salary schedules as presented, and it would be effective July 1st, 2023. And what I'd like to take the opportunity to do is to go over the things in the salary schedule that have changed and that are different from the prior year. So in the salary schedule, which you have attached there to your meeting agenda, if you look on page 4, there is, we call it a disclaimer page. It tells us everything every year that is different from what the norm would be. So in 23-24, the board, by adopting the salary schedule, will be authorizing a step increase for all employees. The performance pay will remain suspended for fiscal year 24. And the salary schedule includes a one-time stipend in the amount of $2,000 for certificated staff and $1,000 for support staff based upon the regulations set forth in the 2023 legislative session. That session just ended on June 8th of 2023. And of course, we do not have all of the information from the state yet on how the funds for that are going to be distributed and how they're going to then anticipate that we would distribute them to our employees. So the disclaimer is in there so that the legislative auditor and the State Department know that we plan to provide that money to our employees as soon as they provide the directives. The fiscal notes from all the legislative sessions are not complete yet and have not been released. Okay. So that's on the disclaimer page, and then if you skip to page 43, this section of pages give you a history of everything that changes in the salary schedule from year to year. So at the bottom of page 43, on the date that begins with October 5th, is what we're going to be looking at. And those 3 items at the bottom of the page, which involve the Parent and Family Engagement Supplemental Pay Index, the change in index for middle school principals and assistant principals in schools with greater than 600 students, and then the cultural support resource position for the Indian Ed program at an hourly rate of $30. Those have all been pre-approved by you in prior meetings. They're just now officially becoming a part of the new salary. And then when you go to page 44, same thing for the first item there. That is the adjustment of the calendars that was done last month for the curriculum specialists, curriculum facilitators, the PAC coordinators and liaison, that whole group of people. So that is just officially adding that to the salary schedule. Then beginning with the items that are dated July 1 of 2023, this is a change for all of our 230-day employees. They will now be paid in the month they work, which means teachers and everybody else, their pay scale, their pay periods for the year begin in September and run through August of the next year. 240-day employees and now 230 also, their pay will run from July to June of the following. And then on the next one, it is the adjustment to the schedule. This was an adjustment made to the teacher salary schedule, the PA schedule, and the ROTC schedule, adding $4,000 to each step as approved by the voters at the March election. And then all of the support salary schedules, a $2,000 increase was included in all of those steps. And then the next box is just a summary of a few things. Powerlifting was added as a high school sport that is indexed as a tier 2 sport at 0.06. Esports was added as a high school club with an index of 0.0075. And then the teacher tutor at $30 an hour, and then one below that, the paraprofessional tutor at $15 an hour. That has been the standard rate for them. The parish adopted the rate several years ago, but via memo outside of the salary schedule. Now we're just bringing that into the salary schedule to make sure that it's all inclusive of our pay types. And then the PAC clerical, same thing. That has been in play. It just wasn't identified in the salary schedule. So we're identifying it. And then we removed from the professional index section the safety manager and the transportation manager. as those positions are now paid on the administrator and manager index. And then the last item refers to the $2,000 and $1,000 stipends provided by the state for this year that we referred to back on page 4. And that outlines all the changes that were made to the salary schedule from the previous 2022-23 schedule.
Any questions or comments from the committee members? Any comments from the public? If not, let's go ahead and vote.
Well, explaining everything very well. Every question I had that Mr. Martin answered earlier today.
Oh, I'm sorry, we needed a motion, I'm sorry.
Thank you for catching that.
No, I didn't. She did, thank you. Yes, sir. A motion, second. Let's go ahead and vote. Motion carried. And again, I want to thank Ms. LaFawn and your staff for the job that you're doing. Yes, I know it's tedious, but thank you. All right, item B, to receive the monthly budget to actual report for all major funds for the period through May 31st, 2023. LaFawn.
This is the regular monthly report, which covers your general fund, your 1995 sales tax salary restricted fund, and the salary supplement fund. And the period is through May 31st of 2023. Through that period, we collected 97.3% of the revenues in the general fund that were budgeted. And along with that, I'd like to do a little bit of an outline of where we stand with tax collections for the year. The ad valorem taxes, of course, have declined ever since Hurricane Ida. They had gone down tremendously right after the hurricane. We are beginning to see some changes in that. And we budgeted on the conservative side at $32.3 million for the year. And to date, we've actually collected $37.6 million. So that shows a healthy increase, and we anticipate returns to normal soon. In the sales and use tax area, we have collected to date $35.3 million, or about 95% of our $37.1 million budget for the year. And we anticipate meeting and slightly exceeding that by the end of the year, as we do still have May and June collections to go. The total currently is $1.1 million less than the same period last year. A lot of that was inflated due to the hurricane. We're beginning to see that return to more normal levels. However, it is still well above the 2021 collection. So we still think we could be fine as those things level off. We'll still be above where we were. In the major report, the general fund is reported there, and your sales tax, and then your ad valorem tax salary supplement funds. But there are tax collections that go to other funds in the district as well. So the numbers that I gave you represent the total collections. What you see in the report represents only those portions that are for those particular. Okay. And just a note on the state MFP dollars, we will meet budget levels. We budgeted $73.9 million, and even after our mid-year adjustment, and they just made a final adjustment based on numbers for the special ed and at-risk populations. We hope to have those final numbers within the next couple of weeks, but we still believe we will be well above that 73.9. And then we have expended in the general fund 82.5% of the budgeted expenditures for the year. So we're well in line with finishing the year in budget. In the 1995 sales tax salary restricted fund, we have collected 86.2% of the revenues and expended 150.9% of the expenditures. And the salary supplement fund, which is an ad valorem based And you saw we have exceeded our budget in that area. We collected 117% of the revenues and expended 122% of what we budgeted. Any questions that I can answer?
Could you explain what's gonna happen since we're over budgeted in a couple of these categories?
In your functional areas, you do have some that are over budgeted. There is some latitude there, a 5% leeway in those functional areas. And when the state looks at it, we're going to look at the total budget for the year. If you are still within 5% of the range of your budget, does not require a formal budget revision. However, if those functional areas, you finish the year with those outside the budget more than 5%, that would be reported to you. A final report on this particular budget will occur.
We go over it, when, like, how,
Through a budget revision.
for the revision,
Right.
so we would be working on that for the next year.
No, not through the next year, we would have to do it next month. Yes.
Okay, and then most of this we can say, because y'all have been pretty good about staying within the budget, is basically the aftershocks from IDA. If we're looking at money coming in, a lot of it.
Well, it could be attributed to that. Some of it is natural inflation. The cost of fuel is much higher now than when we budgeted, say, 14, 15 months ago. Some of those things, some of the cost of the supplies, or maybe maintenance areas, and those have increased quite a lot related to inflation, also combined with the hurricane. But you have a 5% leeway if you collect at least 95% of your budgeted revenues. Good. If you don't spend more than 105% of what you budgeted, also. That answers your question. All right.
All right, being there any other questions? If not, let's move on to item C, to receive a financial report on Hurricane Ida response and recovery to date. Ms. LaFawn.
Yes, ma'am. Today we have expended $78.8 million, and we have obligated another $23.7 million in the form of contractual agreements. We have pending right now $52,500 for materials and supplies that we expect to encumber within the next couple of weeks, which would give us a total of $102.6 million in recovery costs to date for Hurricane Ida. One change I want to call your attention to is under the actual inflows in the second part on this page. You see the parentheses amount of $10 million right there, which is being held in trust by Hancock Whitney Bank. Previously, that figure was $40 million. We drew $30 million during the last month to address some of our needs for the hurricane recovery. And the small report at the very bottom of the page is a duplicate of what we send to our trustee every month. And you'll notice there that we did receive during the month of May from FEMA $1,155,862, which is reimbursement against some of those claims that also is working on.
Any questions? Yes, sir.
A small comment for the committee. The last 2 days I've been with superintendents from around the region at a conference, and we are actually very unique in that we have received all of our insurance money. That makes us unique, number one. Unique, number two, is that we're getting money from FEMA already. This is not to be taken lightly or for granted. Allsouth is doing a very, very good job for us, and it's evidenced by the fact that we're still getting money. So as frustrated as LaFawn and I get on the phone with FEMA, I will tell you that puts us in the minority to actually have made the amount of progress that we have, not just on the rebuilding, but getting money back.
So other districts aren't collecting from
So
FEMA.
what happens is, if your insurance company doesn't pay you, you're not FEMA eligible, because the first step is you recover your insurance money, and then FEMA covers the rest. Many of our neighboring partners the insurance companies are not paying, and it stops the entire process. We've been very fortunate. I just wanted to share that with you so that as you're dealing with our all-South partners, keep it in the back of your mind. It's refreshing to see this progress.
Any other comments or questions? If not, we'll move on to number 3, transportation. A, to receive a report of the transportation events from the previous month. Well, Mr. Toby, are you ready with that?
Yes, thank you. So it's positive, and positive. School year ended on a good note. More drivers than what we had at the beginning of the year. Summer Academy is going on right now, which is going smooth. We have a few hiccups in the beginning, but those were all addressed. Right now, the focus is bus inspections, which is what I do a couple days a week, getting out on a bus and checking what ACs are working, what's going on, how clean were the buses, what needs to be fixed to make sure that I can follow up with B&L to see what's on their punch list so it gets accomplished. Another great moment we're in right now is that the last 2 years we've been focused on everybody in the office being able to function if someone is out of the office. If I'm in the field at an accident or somewhere, that small decisions can be made and the office can keep going forward while the buses are on the road. And I see one of our drivers in the public tonight, and they all see that now it's the office, whether you call me, secretary or dispatcher, we'll get an answer right away, whether it's a community member, an administrator, or a bus driver, to make sure the support's there. And the last final piece of positivity that we really have going on is we have our training class on July 1st, which we have 13 people signed up that showed interest. And if about 7 or so show up, we're also planning another class in the end of August after the school year starts. We're going to have another group coming through. So we'll start, right now we have 91 drivers, which from 2 years ago we were at 86. Now we're at 91. And the goal is my personal goal, and I'll say this in front of all of you, our goal is to hit 100 by December. Fingers crossed, and we'll push it. We can really focus on recruiting quality employees, not just someone to drive, but a quality person that really wants the commitment with the school board and have a great career as a driver. So that's the point we're at. We're in a good spot. Looking forward to cranking up July to where we start getting ready for the phone calls coming in of what bus was the kid ride and the administrators, and making sure they're all on the same page, because we have a lot of new administrators that need a little bit of a guiding hand with the school year starting. All right, any questions?
Can you explain the training session to me? Is this for people who've already gone through the process, that have applied, or it's people who are just interested and trying to get information?
Becoming a certified driver to drive on a school bus in the state of Louisiana, you have to have a CDL. Now, that candidate does some in-house training with us to pass the CDL coursework. They're really on their own. If you come to me and say, I want to drive a bus, we're going to get you through the classes that can help you pass the DMV CDL with the bus endorsement and the passenger endorsement. But it's up to that individual to actually go to the DMV and pass that coursework. It's just like getting a license, except it's a CDL. The other side of the training is in-house training and the July 1st training of defensive driving, school bus driving, pre-trip inspection. It starts on that day, and then it's scheduled for the next, give or take a month or so, depending on when those people are available, to make sure they can get in at the right times with the right trainers and move forward. And then there's a third-party training at the end of all of it, which is outside of what we do at state. It's a person that's selected by the state to do the third-party test to finalize the CDL permit to go to the DMV. There's a lot of little pieces in it that we have to keep pushing those.
So Mr. Hubbard, to her point, the folks in this training scheduled in July are not employees. They have not filled out applications, but they are prospective employees.
So they are in the CDL learning process, and this is just
Correct.
part of the.
That's right. Yeah. And you're looking at about a month or so. Now, a couple of them have turned applications in. We hold on to it until they have their CDL and their bus driving classes are all done.
Any other questions, comments? His name is Jamie.
That driver or driving our kids around safely every day and choosing to do that for our school district because that's gotta be a hard job to have 30 kids. You have to have eyes in the back of your head to do that. So thank you. Oh, okay. Thank you so much, though.
6 times a day, so.
Thank you.
Janine, she's great. She's one of our many amazing drivers.
I just didn't want to point you out, that's all I was suggesting. You know, so I didn't know if you were comfortable with it, but thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
I would also like to point out, you all have seen the new bail schedule. Bayou Blue Elementary is going to be back to its original time prior to the bus challenges that we experienced in the last couple of years. That's all due in part to our ability to now staff and have enough buses in the area. Bayou Blue was operating, I think, at one point with 8 and 9.
We had 7 at one point, and now at the end of the year, we finished with 10. And we have 3 more drivers that all accepted positions. They'll be finished with HR probably mid-July, the next couple of weeks. And all 3 are going to Bayou Blue. So we'll have right at 13, and we're going to push 2 more drivers to the Bayou Blue area as they come in.
I have to tell you, this is the first year that I did not get one bus call from my constituents. I know, I feel that way too. Right, exactly.
And it's the drivers are the big part of it, and the community. When I began the community, I would get a few calls in, and they were a little colorful. But now overall, the community has really embraced the direction we've gone, where the drivers have taken it, and the schools. I feel support from every direction, even standing here. It's been a great journey so far.
And the bus drivers are the very first person that they see that's part of our school system. So it's very important that we have positive people that are on the buses like we do. And it shows in the number of calls that we get.
Yes, ma'am.
I appreciate your job, the job that you do, the job that they do.
We have a wonderful supervisor, secretary, and dispatcher now too, also.
Okay, any other questions?
I have to pay her for saying that.
Oh, okay. Please go outside so we don't get this. All right, there being no further business, the meeting is adjourned.